Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Nate here. And Skyrim can be a pretty serious place, with some equally serious problems. A surge of bandits plagues and harasses the populace. Dragons proceed to munch on said populace, and a civil war keeps it divided. As you might imagine, there's little room available for any of the characters in the Elder Scrolls V, its hero included, to kick back and have a nice laugh. Thankfully, Skyrim also happens to boast what is among the strongest modding communities in all of gaming, with a talented pool of modders producing new content every day. And while most of the creations are meant to increase our immersion in the world, improve its gameplay and/or visuals, there's also a sizable collection of mods on the Nexus, tailor-made for players that aren't exactly feeling super serious. You know what I mean. Those hilarious, absurd, outlandish projects, developed purely to get a laugh out of players. In today's special edition of Immersive Mods, I'd figured we'd show off some of my favorites. So, sit back and relax, as we dive right into 5 of the most utterly ridiculous mods available for the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. We'll be starting off relatively tame, with Master of Weapons by Delobo 1999. If you've ever been feeling a tad bored with Skyrim's normal selection of weaponry, you know, mundane swords, monotonous daggers, uninspiring bows, and are looking to spice up your arsenal, MOW may be the mod for you. It transforms over 25 seemingly insignificant miscellaneous and food items into actual weapons for the player to use in combat. From empty mead bottles to pots to pans to goat legs, Master of Weapons is among the most creative weapon packs Skyrim has seen in quite some time. The way the mod works is that after picking up a compatible food or misc item, the player will be able to head on over to a forge or anvil, and transform it into a weapon for use. On screen now, I'll provide a full list of all the new items you can use in combat. It's pretty extensive. Some of the new items make some sense, like shovels and brooms. You know, you can imagine fighting someone with something like that. But then there's others, like rabbit meat and flutes, and it's just insanely comical at times. In terms of actual stats and effectiveness, I think you'll be very surprised with just how strong each of the objects in this abnormal arsenal can be. Stats do of course vary between the items, however in terms of damage, they range from as low as 4 points worth, with weapons like that rabbit meat we just mentioned, which I must say is admittedly a lot more powerful than I ever imagined rabbit meat being. It's as good as an iron dagger. But then you also get some tools that range all the way up to 24 points worth of damage, such as the large shovel. This is literally as lethal as a Daedric greatsword. Suffice it to say, while not very realistic, there are some pretty practical tools here. So, if you're ever looking to dismantle an entire bandit operation with a wheel of cheese, or conquer a cave with a human bone, I'm pleased to report, there's a mod for that. Next on our list, oh, this is fun. We have Crimes Against Nature by Fancy Pants. At its core, Crimes Against Nature, or CAN, introduces 12 new custom races for the player to choose from when creating a character. And let's just say that none of them are exactly lore-friendly. Each of these new races boasts a, creative, unique appearance and theme. Mostly rooted in something totally unrelated to the normal races of Nirn that we're familiar with. Some are totally random, others are clever nods to pop culture. For instance, there's the IKEA-born race, which combines the body of a man with the texture and head of a chair. The Snoo race grants the player a visual aesthetic similar to that of the Reddit mascot. My personal favorite, the Hunnam, allows you to take on the role of an adorable kitten that just seems to be controlling a robotic human's body. You get the picture. The selection is pretty wacky. We obviously don't have time for an in-depth analysis of each of these new additions, but hopefully you're getting an idea of just how ridiculous the mod gets. Now, despite clearly not taking itself seriously, CAN is shockingly well made. Not only does it add in all of these new player races, but goes so far as to offer each of them custom powers and abilities that are just as absurd as you would imagine. Some examples include Biomagnet, a power available to players who chose the Portal Robot race, and grants you the ability to create a magnetic field that sucks in the ragdolled bodies of any and all nearby living characters, animals and creatures included. The Web Swing spell, given to members of the Humankin race, which looks sort of like a tiny spider controlling a person, allows you to emit a web from your hands, to swing from location to location. However, isn't quite as seamless as that description lets on, as you can see in the background. Bear Blitz, a power for Dova bears, when enabled, lets you push NPCs out of the way when you sprint into them, similar to an effect Power Armor could produce in Fallout 4. Oh, how can I forget Spontaneous Combustion, a power that lets your character, well, just catch on fire randomly without doing anything else. It's just a whole assortment of amusing nonsense. As mentioned, there's many more races and equally hysterical abilities for you to mess around with than just the ones that we've gone over so far. These are only my personal highlights. Overall, Crimes Against Nature easily cements itself as one of the wackiest and most sarcastic mods ever to find itself on the Nexus. And with accolades like that, you should definitely give it a shot, even if you don't intend on doing a full playthrough of the game with it enabled. Coming in at number 3, Skyrim's a region peppered with all sorts of fearsome foes. But one mod adds in a new character, which takes the cake, if you will. Released in May of 2017, Sugar Atronach by Henshu introduces a new, sugary magical ally, or adversary, to the Elder Scrolls V. Gigantic, calorie-dense creatures with bodies composed of all sorts of sweet treats, Sugar Atronachs can be summoned by Cuisiners, a new type of conjurer that will randomly spawn in bandit-occupied dungeons. Cuisiners are easy to distinguish thanks to their white robes and chef hats. When combat is entered, they'll typically call upon Sugar Atronachs for backup, and will fight with a variety of flame and shock spells. Once a Cuisiner and their high cholesterol friend has been slain, on the Cuisiner's body will usually be a Conjure Sugar Atronach spellbook, which will enable the Dragonborn to start summoning these bad boys for themselves. When conjured, these guys will behave sort of like any other elemental Atronach would, acting as a companion for 60 seconds, or until it's taken too much damage before disappearing. In combat, they're not half bad fighters, dealing huge amounts of damage with their melee attacks. However, since they're using the same animation package as trolls, they can be a bit slow. No matter, let's be real, it's not the lethality that makes us love these high fructose friends. I think it's mostly the ludicrousness that really gets to me. There's not too much more to say here. If you're looking for a sweet mod, well, look no further. For 4th spot, I want to share with you guys what is arguably the most unique mod I've ever downloaded. And that's saying something. Skyrim 76 by Inferno Plus. Fundamentally, this mod is a comical total overhaul of the base game, meant to roughly parody many of the woes of Fallout 76. Yes, you heard me correctly, total overhaul. You're not going to want to run very many non-visual based mods when Skyrim 76 is active on your load order, because it's going to change a lot. But I think it'll give most players a couple hours worth of laughs. Once you've started up a new game with the mod active and created your character, you'll awake in a cave, where a magical talking book, poking fun at holotapes, informs you that you missed the launch party of Skyrim 76. You overslept. And it will suggest that you get out into the world and make some friends. Of course, mirroring 76's own intro. As you emerge from the cave, your ears will be assaulted with a crudely narrated welcome into this world, mocking Fallout's own narration sequence.
Skyrim. Skyrim never changes. When the reviews fell on Fallout 76, many thought that all was lost. But it was not, as some had predicted. The end.
At this point, you'll be given numerous quest markers, each directing you to a different potential friend or player to team up with. Each one is based off of a hilarious exaggeration of actual player types you might encounter in Fallout 76, and it's pretty hilarious. Most are voice acted, made to sound like actual players on the other end of a microphone. Some being squeaky kids, others are overconfident jerks, some are just crazy people who will attack you on sight. It makes for a laughably good time.
Wow, your armor's cool looking. Let's team up. Yay, let's go fight a dragon. Mom, no, I'm sorry, I wasn't on the Xbox.
Get back here
I
this
wasn't
instant!
on the Xbox, I swear, Mom. Please don't, Mom.
Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, wow, somebody put a lot of time into this, and you're absolutely right. The mod is genuinely good, like high production value, high effort, some real work and real talent was put into this, sharply contrasting how unseriously the mod takes itself. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's DLC sized or the next Enderall, but still, it is a lot bigger than most mods are. The majority of friends you attempt to make throughout this main quest line, if you will either instantly die or try to murder you to death. So eventually, after you've grown frustrated and met most of the characters, you can report back to that magic book for some more Fallout 76 themed side quests, including a short run-in with the man Todd Howard himself, a mission that sends you to gather 700 firewood to build a house, only to just instantly remove it from your inventory afterward with nothing happening. There's a few other key changes this mod makes. It creates a new race, simply called NPC, and replaces a majority of the non-Skyrim 76 affiliated characters with them. And once you've finished all of the mod's quests, you'll be given a never-ending mission to just grind, which is a nice touch. And there's a little more that we don't really have time to spoil. As a whole, Skyrim 76 is among the coolest mods I've played, and it's weird saying that. No, it's not necessarily immersive, but again, it's high production value, and the humor it uses is something that I think many players familiar with the Fallout 76 launch and all of its problems will really appreciate. So, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I genuinely think this mod belongs somewhere in my top 20, maybe even 15. It's really good, and I think you should check it out. And finally, to wrap this list all up in a nice little bow, is a creation that's not quite as much laugh-out-loud hilarious as some of the others we've covered so far, but still insanely adorable, and quite a ways away from being lore-friendly. Snippy, a droid follower, by Haim Projects. Originally developed for Project AHO, a much larger mod the Haim Projects team was working on, but released as a standalone, Snippy introduces a new companion to the game. Snippy, a robotic Dwemer-based follower. With an appearance based off of BB-8 from the Star Wars movies, Snippy's summoning process is a little bit cool. Once you've loaded into any game with the mod active, you'll immediately be given a controller remote in your inventory. It's basically a staff. When activated, it will summon Snippy into your game. As a follower, Snippy behaves mostly as a complete pet, meaning he's not going to fight in any of your battles. In fact, when you enter combat, he'll straight up run away in terror. But that's not to say this little guy is useless. In fact, very far from it. From the dialogue tree, you can get some really unique interactions out of this guy. Among the services he offers is a convenient lantern whenever you want it. He will enchant or fill any soul gem you need him to. He boasts a motion scanner, which can be activated on command, and highlights any and all nearby NPCs, living or dead. And most of all, this is definitely the coolest, you can make Snippy enter a manual control mode. which will essentially allow you to take control of his body and become the robot for a little while. There is a bit of a range to it. You can't go further than a couple dozen yards away from your player character, otherwise you will lose signal. This is likely due to some engine limitations Skyrim has. The game just doesn't render terrain beyond where your character is, so this is the modder's way of creatively introducing that limitation. And there's a few cool things you can do while in this manual control mode. You can interact with a variety of objects, even taking things from containers or opening doors and activating levers. You can utilize that motion scanner on the go, effectively turning Snippy into a reconnaissance drone. It's just all around an amazing experience. This is just altogether a really creative mod and a creative mechanic that comes along with it. Snippy himself is, as mentioned, cute and adorable, and I love the little thing to death, but really it's the whole package, that combination of this character with that manual control mode I love so much, that makes me really fond of this project. Even if you're not that big into follower mods, I'd recommend you give this one a shot, just to experience the novelty of the whole thing. I could spend some more time talking about his custom audio files or hang projects' previous work with some amazing mods we've discussed before, but we're threatening 17 minutes with this video, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. Just know that Snippy is an amazing companion mod that you should definitely think about giving a go. Anyway, on that note, we are going to wrap up. 5 of the most utterly absurd, ridiculous mods available for The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. When I had first thought up the idea of this video, I wanted to save it for April Fool's Day of 2020, but I quickly realized that that's a long ways away from now, so I just couldn't help myself and decided to make it now. I also did my best to skirt away from some of the more popular joke mods, you know, the Thomas the Train or Macho Man Randy Savage Dragon mods, the swearing mud crabs. That sort of thing we're all mostly familiar with, because those mods all came out in like 2013, and over the past few years some really great ones have released, that I think deserve some extra attention. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, like ratings are, as always, very much appreciated, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everybody.